Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Yappin Maximus here, and today's video is a little bit different. I'm actually really low on sleep, and I'm doing this low on sleep because usually when I'm really tired, I'm a bit more unfiltered, and I just I'm just gonna draw random stuff while just yapping about random stuff. So if you enjoy this, just I don't know, let me know down below. But anyways, I'm gonna get on with it. And also, this is the only view I could sort of get with my camera currently. I don't have any other real setup other than like using my phone, which doesn't do well for long recordings, anyways. So yeah, this is like still within the sense of like games and like development and everything like that, because that's where I'm bringing my channel, like everything to do with games, either with game footage or like me game developing or whatever, anything like that of that sort. So yeah, hopefully this will be kind of like interesting content, I guess, because I'd rather have like some different stuff on the channel. And yeah, so today's topic of me just yapping while I'm thinking out loud is essentially I'm thinking about ideas. We're currently in a realm full of AI and all this other stuff like blowing out there. I don't actually use AI that much other than asking it questions about education and things. But like, let's say I want to start off with an idea of something small. Let's start with something very small. Something small that's sort of grounded in reality, observable, noble, like science. So let's say like science. If I want to expand ideas or like just theories or like fiction or fantasy or something like that, science usually has some pretty interesting stuff going on about it. Let's say like we go with water. Water is older than the sun. If you didn't know that, so the first thing is water is older than the sun. So that means if you as a human are comprised of like 70% water and like 30% everything else to compose of yourself to become a human, you can theoretically say that you're like remnants of like an ancient being that might have existed somewhere else in the galaxy at one point about like 4.6 billion years ago. And that's already kind of like a cool concept just to start off with, right? If you wanted to do something like that. So that means it's like, in the afterlife and passing, maybe we actually just fly forward through the timeline and are actual gods in like some other dimension or timeline down the whatever. And then like from that latched concept alone, timeline, this is just a this is just like a concept of how we understand like time. It's more like a measure of just like how we can see things moving forward. But technically, I think it was, I don't know if this is true or not, or like just completely made up. Maybe everything I'm saying here is made up. Okay, so who knows? But in any case, it's just food for thought and entertaining like thoughts essentially. Timeline can also be a construct of how you view things moving forward. You can technically go backwards in time. You just can't go back in time physically. You can go back in time in your head in like memory. So it's like whatever you remembered of like I don't know, like your first kiss or something, or like hugging, or like grandparents and like people passing or whatever. That all happened in the past. You can remember them though, which is sort of like time travel in your head, but you can't physically get there. Mentally and spiritually, you can get there, but it's also kind of a blur because you might not have visited it very much, so it's always unknown. You can use this sort of like a concept in like a game if you wanted to. So that would be like a mechanic already if you wanted to actually really think about it like that. Now back to like the whole thing about water, it's like maybe like atoms and like electrons or whatever. Let's say I wanted to like build a universe or something that made more sense, and maybe in like the sci-fi realm or whatever. Electrons and atoms and whatever, they all sort of look like little dots and then like weird like helix rings and stuff around them, which usually look pretty cool. Now if you actually look at like images of galaxies or whatever, they actually kind of look the same. So, and if everything's sort of like comprised of like proton, electron, neutrons or whatever that hold like matter together, maybe that's exactly why like the stars look like that or whatever, right? Like the galaxy looks like this kind of thing. You have like a star in the middle, and then you got like planets like rotating around the orbs. And honestly, that just looks like the electron, proton, neutron, just at a larger scale. That's all it is. So if you actually think about it like this, maybe that's exactly what it is. And then like because technology has expanded or whatever, they could zoom in on this even further, and this is actually like not the smallest thing we could see, and the smallest thing we could see was like fractals or something like that. Like fractals are like these weird like pattern shapes or whatever that fly out constantly. And yeah, so at an even deeper level, like this is like some kind of weird spiral like pattern flowing outwards, and that's like the base concept of like our universe or something. This is like a recent thing that I knew of, that I heard about like scientific discoveries. Now we also have like so like let's expand backwards and zoom back out into like the large galaxies or whatever. And if we accept that, like the concept that the universe started with a big bang and everything was packed into like a little orb or something, or a tiny little space, and then it just blew up and everything starts flying outwards, then that means, if we are Earth, like over here, and this is the sweet spot distance between the sun and the Earth, and we have like a shower of water particles or whatever, which grants us the ability to provide life here. And when the universe was blowing up and everything was like blown outwards or whatever, that means at some point in time or whatever, some of these other planets that were forming and we were like flown out like away from the star, and like as rocks we were just starting to turn into like pebbles or whatever, or boulders, with the right conditions, and if there was water previously on those outer planets that are beyond Earth, that means that there could have also been life existing there too, like some millions and millions of years that we would never know, because we only exist in a time frame of anywhere from like 80 to 100 years in our physical perception essentially. So it, for me, as like an interesting thought exercise, sometimes I go like, oh, Mars. I'm like, why is the surface covered in like metals and whatever and everything else or whatever? And I was like, oh, maybe Martians was actually like a super advanced civilization like some millions and millions of years ago, before Earth made it to like, the habitable zone in like the galaxy that we're in for our solar system. And I'm pretty sure there's other planets out there in like, the vast galaxy of space that also have planets that are similar to Earth, that have these same conditions, that might also line up somewhere. It's so huge, like we barely even see outside of this darkness. So there's probably life somewhere else. But then, because everything is in like measured in like millions and millions and eons of years for anything to happen, the chances are we're probably like really alone here in this world. And like, Mars might be just like a future glimpse of what's going to happen like some 100 million years later or whatever, when Earth reaches that distance from the sun, as we're flowing further and further away from it. Then it gets too cold, the heat, everything freezes over, and then like everything disappears, or we run out of resources. It's also why we should also take care of the planet. And then, who knows what might have happened on Mars? Like maybe they did have water. All that metal rust on the surface is just like a super advanced civilization that's been decayed because they are too far from the sun now, and they can't have hospitable, the sweet spot equilibrium for biological life. And all that rust and iron might just be like cold AI Terminator parts, Skynet things, and AI fears, and then like that's like your fear taking over of like what might happen. So fear is also like a driving motivation for like you need to figure out what is unknown. But this is also an interesting concept of like this is naturally built into us, and trying to unlearn fear, you'll either gain like a lot of bravery or immense stupidity. So either one, but it also like is quite liberating too. And then you kind of get into the concepts of like ignorance is bliss, because if you don't even know what danger is, why would you fear anything? Because you don't know the danger. It's like if you're not afraid of it, you won't feel danger. You'll feel like you can take it on or whatever. So that's sort of like a different tangent off of like this current concept. But anyways, that's sort of like a mental exercise that I just wanted to talk about, just to warm up my head a little. And then yeah, these are sort of things I think about all the time. It's just like all over the darn place. And honestly, it just looks like ADHD, which is probably what I have. But yeah, that's it's always interesting. It's sort of like looking at golden ratio of things too. I've mentioned this to friends before in the past. You just like stare at things all the time,
You got like golden ratios and stuff all over the place. It's sort of like your middle finger here is sort of like the same length of like this pad joint all the way to your wrist is like they're like equal lengths. So, and then like same thing for like I don't know, some of your proportions on like your hands are all like equal distance from like the other parts of your body, and they're sort of like just ratioed out. Same with like credit cards or like business cards or whatever. If you ever look at main main like main industry like credit cards or like gift cards or whatever, they're all that same size. And then if you actually measure like the length and the width, and then you look at the ratio of the width to the length, it's like the same number multiplier that you'll also see in like nature as well too. And it's also sort of like the distance, I think, like between like your eyes versus like your mouth in terms of like the length and distance on that too or whatever. So it's just kind of like subtly everywhere. It's just no one ever kind of pointed it out to you. So if you ever wanted to stop looking at your phone and you're walking outside touching grass, it's kind of interesting to just look at it and see like what things in nature also possess this trait, because this is sort of like a natural alignment for like biological and psychological affinity. You'll also see this in like logos and everything else too. If you've ever seen like the blueprint of the Twitter logo, the bird or whatever, when Twitter was bought out by Elon Musk or whatever, I think one of the designers that actually worked on the Twitter logo showcased the blueprint of how they came up with the Twitter logo, the iconic bird or whatever, and it's just a bunch of circles all over the darn place. And if you didn't see it, you won't really know, but it is like a bunch of concentric circles around each other, and and negative space. So it's like positive space and negative space. So there's like circles that are like subtracting like the beak and the nose and whatever and all those other things, and that essentially form the bird by cutting out like circles inside circles. This is also apparent inside like the Apple logo as well for like iPhone and whatever. That Apple is like specifically designed and placed on a certain spot on the phone as well, and it's pretty much essentially iconic. But that's the price of like a very very brand logo that's recognizable everywhere, and somebody will pay like lots of money for that kind of design, right? So it's extraordinarily measured to a very precise point, and for like most people who aren't looking or thinking about it, that's what is being marketed so that you understand like that kind of brand or whatever. That's a lot of work that I don't like to do or whatever or even think about. It's quite exhausting, but yeah, that's if you want, you have to think about all those sorts of things to make like a serious logo kind of deal. All right, so I'm just gonna draw like a random face from memory. Not exactly great to draw things straight from memory. All it I've learned from like different masters recently where like, they even screw up their drawings and stuff 10, 15 years into the practice, and they draw every day and they draw really well too, right? But one thing I've noticed across all of them is that they always draw from reference. Even like old legends that are no longer with us that drew like every breathing moment, like Kim Jong Gi, and even he, I can like in interviews, I see him like studying the person that he's like talking to and just thinking about how to draw it and whatnot. So yeah, drawing with reference is always good. Drawing from memory is not really a flex. It's just more of like an exercise that I do to see like what I know. So I don't know what I know. Sometimes there's days I can't draw at all and just looks like total ass. And then there's other times where I draw and it looks phenomenal to me, but it's still like I like the thing was in self-reflecting to the point where it's just I just have to practice is like the only thought that enters my head. Whether it's good or bad doesn't really matter. I have to practice with intent and think about like what I'm drawing and what I've learned and what I've retained. That's the whole point. I sometimes do an imaginary drawing without thinking or like without reference is just to see like is my mental like eye capable enough to start like just creating without like needing a reference, which is practically generating. But you need so much practice and a repertoire of knowledge in order to be able to do that. And I'm pretty sure I'm nowhere close, but yeah, I'm not gonna get there if I don't do it. So usually just do like a random face, or maybe I'll do two faces. We usually do faces because there's already so much detail going on, but I need to actually do like full body sketches too sooner or later. So usually I know like the head is like a circle. Let's just do like a frontal here, and then we have like, let's just do like eyes. It's like pretty big eyes, I guess. Rather large eyes today. Let's see, nose is probably like somewhere around here. Just keep it tighter to the eyes so it looks a little bit cuter. Ears are somewhere on the side out here. And your head's not exactly like a full circle. It's sort of like partially like shaved on the sides, I guess. I don't really know. You can always just draw like a happy face. Sometimes I draw like a micro one first. You can just draw like a small little smiley face. And that might like give you like better idea of like a proportion like right away. Make it not look so creepy. I don't know. Looks like it's like a pumpkin teeth or something. It's wild eyelids. All right, so even my thumbnail's kind of cooked today. So that's not good. This is probably a better sign of what today's output might look like than like what's happening on the big page space here. So yeah, maybe you might want to do like, I don't know, 10 or 15 of these first to see what your output might look like, and then like, maybe like some stickman, and you'll be like, oh, okay. Like stickman faces, and then like, mad face. And yeah, and then that might like realign your head a little bit better. Otherwise, you just, who knows, you could be all over the place. But you got to start somewhere, right? So this is actually a fairly good starting point, actually, if you ask me. People are always like, "Oh, I can only draw stickman," and I'm like, "Cool, you're 80% of the way there." So, okay, and then this is just uh, like I just draw a straight line here, and then like from here, I just look at this and I'm going like, does this look kind of natural? And I'm like, yeah, it looks a little bit natural. It's just actually missing like the eyes somewhere or whatever. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then I'll be like, okay. And then so like some of this is knowledge as well too. But like for just the base set here, like these one, two, three, four circles and a line, I usually just place them around and then just be like, does this look natural? If it looks kind of natural to you, sort of like a doll, then you're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, this is already like half of the work there. Because I don't really erase like my drawings. I usually just draw it like this too. Because I actually use this eraser more like for shading. That's why it's so like dirty on with graphite on the edges here. So like with drawings like this, is that's essentially what happens. It starts off with a circle and whatnot, and then and that's, it sort of just turns out to like that essentially over time. But that's sort of what I do, and then yeah, and then sometimes I turn it into a 3D character if it resonates really well within me. And so then I'm like, oh yeah, I can see this like being like a character in the game or whatever or whatnot. So who knows? Usually, like one of the main character right now was a character I drew at 3 a.m. in the morning just because I had insomnia, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna draw this, and it came out like so fast, and I was like, wow, this is like, I can see this character like running around in 3D. Okay, and then like let's do like some eyes. So eyes are the, I don't know, like the nose is actually kind of small, but whatever. So nose, actually I'll just do the nose. So like nose is like here, nostrils like facing. And then I think this face looks fine. Let's give it like a bit of a sharp chin or whatever. It's like usually like wherever the center point of like your nose bridge and your eyes, and then to the bottom of your chin is about like the equal distance to the nose, if you want the face to look like, quite pretty or symmetrical or whatever. If you want it more stylized, obviously you just stretch those like digits like within these areas. So like let's say like this is the center point of where like the nose bridge will end or whatever, and then this distance from here to here, that means the chin is like somewhere down here. But this makes it very rigid though, like when you start drawing this way. So try not to think this way. And this is what I'm telling myself essentially. You're just hearing my inner thoughts of me talking to myself. And it's like, so, okay, like don't always just do this because your drawings will end up turning really rigid or all start looking the same, and then you can't really actually draw anything and you're just fixed on a pattern rather than learning and creating. And then usually there's like, you have your mandible and your jaw like over here. So this is now like scientific biological anatomy knowledge. But it's just good to know. Usually that's a little bit higher than like your lips or whatever, because your jaw's like angled down, and then like, you have like lips or whatever, and then you have like your jaw, and then you have like an ear on the side, something like that, and then your nose like in the front, and then like an eyes somewhere here. This looks more like an eyebrow. Yeah, it looks something like this, but this looks so cooked. Anyways, so yeah, and then let's see, eyes. Eyes are like diamonds. So eyes are like diamond shaped. No matter which way you look at them, eyes are kind of like diamonds. So they're like curved diamonds. And you can just have eyes looking like that from curved diamonds. So that's what I'm gonna do. Just some curved diamonds. So this would be like the eye sockets inside the skull. So the eye corner should never really reach the edges of that. Somewhere inside here. Just want to get an idea of where the corners might be. I usually don't actually pinpoint it like this. I just freeform like an arc. So let's see, like an eyelid. And then curve it back down to that corner. And then on the other side. And then just curve it back down to that corner. And then let's see, this is pretty rounded, so I guess I'm drawing a lady here. Whereas dudes' eyes are more straight and narrow. They're not so curved like this. So I guess I'm drawing a chick again. And then let's see, this is like darkened here. There's like a little bit of a nose, that little nose like rounded bump in front is like right here. And then I'll choose like one side. Usually you want to choose one side for like lighting or whatever, so I'll choose the right side today. So there it is. And then let's see, so eyes. These eyes are pretty big. We're almost reaching like anime levels, but that's okay. So I will just draw like circles. They're supposed to be circles anyways. So I'll just lightly like pencil them in so I know what's looking at me. And sort of gauge like where it is. And okay, so that's actually still too small, so I actually need to make the eyes a little bit bigger. Okay, so this eye will be there. The eyes are actually quite wide apart on this. They're actually like farther apart than usual, but that's okay. This doesn't need to be a perfectly symmetrical person. Usually like the distance from here to here is like also an eye's length distance, but that doesn't matter right now but that's like, we're not drawing like the perfect face here or whatever. Imperfections is what makes it more real anyways. Otherwise you start reaching weird robotic uncanny levels. All right, and then it's like the center of the eye, like, somewhere in there. I'll just leave it as a dot for now. Then okay, so now we just have like the carve of like the top lid or whatever, which is an arc. I mean, if you're going for like a stylized drawing, you can just do that, but I'm not gonna do that. I want it semi-real, so I'm gonna like, shave the bottom off and actually showcase the bottom of the lid. It should curve up as well. I want the corner to be higher than the inner corner. The inner corner should be like higher. Okay. And then this corner goes down. This goes across. I just need to darken this. This is just a shadow because this eyelid is going to be more forward anyways as usual. Okay, and then just like, same thing, straight line here. And then just like curve upwards a little bit. Then we draw a crease in the eyelid. Another crease in this eyelid, so it's actually natural looking. Depending on ethnicity, if it's like Asian or whatever, it should just be glued inwards. If it's more like Caucasian or like other ethnicities or like Euro, then it's like a little bit different. Since I actually penciled in a lot of like outlines here, I'm actually gonna like erase this so that it doesn't distort my view of what I was looking at. Because right now I don't want to see the frame outlines. I also don't like using this eraser because if I use it too much, it disappears and I don't know how to replace it, and I don't want to figure that out. All right, so now we have like, a character kind of looking at us. And then, I mean, they're kind of like bald right now, so let's add some hairs. So this is where the eye sockets are. The eyebrows are usually just sort of above it. You can feel this on your own face too if you're actually like a little bit lost. All you have to do is just like feel like the top of your eyelids, and you'll feel like, there's like a gushy part here, which is, it feels kind of hollow. But then like above that is like where your eyebrows are. So usually I just start off with a base eyebrow line in the area, depending on what the character feels like or whatever. This one I'm just trying to do a neutral expression, but it looks more like they're like ready to go to battle or something. So let's just make them smile, I guess, because I'm so tired right now. I need some happiness in my face, so I'm gonna just draw a smile instead because this is too serious for me right now. So if I need a smile, let's just like raise the lip corners up because that's usually the highest indicator for somebody smiling. So there you go. I just added a little bit of an angle up, and all of a sudden it looks like they're kind of smirking at me instead. Perfect. Memes. And then let's just like fill in this other side of this here. And so far, like, drawing is almost like an adventure now. It's like playing a game of just like, where's the line go in puzzle form. Okay, so we'll just connect this chin here. And there we go. And this is a very tiny chin. Okay, I'm not trying to go for anime here. Like, that's like an irregular chin. This is abnormal. Nobody's chin is this small. The chin is like almost like this, like the same as like your your lips or whatever. So this is a small ass chin. All right, and that's actually a really thick line. I did not mean to make it that thick. It's just because I'm talking out loud rather than internalizing. So this is actually like, I should have drawn this lighter and round it out a little bit because it looks way too it looks way too fixed. Okay, and then just like clear out the arcs a little bit on the jaw. So it looks a little bit more normal. Okay, and then like, let's just like do a neck or something. So neck is sort of like lined up with the eye. It could be thick, long, whatever. I don't really know. It's usually behind your ear, so the ears are like here. Let's just pencil in some ears first. And ears start off somewhere near your eyes and end somewhere near your nose. And because this is in the back, it needs to be higher raised a little bit because the back is obviously not seen as much. Let's see, cheekbones are like somewhere over here, so let's just like eye it a little bit. So do I want her to look bubbly, or do I want her to look like she's a bit older and like refined, matured? Who knows? Don't really care. Not thinking that far. That's too much details. Try to simplify. Don't need to think about it that much. Otherwise, you get paralyzed with the details when you can't even have the simple framework down. So it doesn't really matter too much. You just have to practice anyways. So it doesn't. Okay, and then there's that. What is it? It's like the outer ring. And then like the lobe is like somewhere in there, then into a helix. I don't even remember. I just scribble it in. Probably have to practice some ears. All right, and then like neck is like probably somewhere here. Kind of a tiny neck actually. Okay, there, that's a bit more normal. All right, and then what is it? Usually you've got like your jugular vein. I don't know how pretty I want her to be. It's like a defined neck is usually like really hot or something. that's a little too defined. I need it lighter. Unless it's like a dude. A dude has a thicker neck than a woman, so I'm just looking kind of androgynous here, I guess. Like just some light musculature here, and then like a little bit of like neck muscle, and then jaw is also kind of square too. Actually, the more square it is, the more dude it is as well. Okay, and then like the pit of the neck is like maybe here or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. There's like some weird stuff going on here. And then let's see, from the back of the neck, I don't even remember where it is. I'm feeling it myself. I'm lost because I'm doing this without reference. Not exactly the greatest thing. So it's like from here, like usually the jaw is here. This is like my jaw corner, which is like this area here. And then it goes like sort of like from there to the back. And then you have like your trap like going out or whatever. So this is a trap. And then like your clavicle. If this is the pit, then that means like the clavicle, your collarbone is like somewhere like here or something, just pointed outwards. And then like I don't know. And then like if you want to draw boobs, it's like usually like an X mark or an upside. Like boobs are literally just an upside down heart. Like if you can draw a heart, you can draw boobs. This is just like upside down, pointing into this corner, no matter what angle, I guess. So yeah, if you want to do that, it's just like the tits are somewhere over here. Okay, so then so now that I have this, then eyebrows. Eyebrows usually, because I actually had to sculpt like hairs and I wanted like really intense details on my characters or whatever, I had to actually study hair formations and actually eyebrows quite a bit. So eyebrows was like, here's like a line or whatever, and like say this is your eye or whatever, and then so eyebrows usually form like, they form outwards like this, and then as they get more towards the middle, they point like straight up. And then as they get closer to the outside, they start pointing outwards and twisting outwards. And as they get to like the end, they actually like point downwards. So that's actually like how eyebrows kind of go. Yeah. So so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to like fill it in with like a few eyebrow lines. And as I get closer to the middle, I want the lines to go up. And as it gets closer to the outside, I want it to go the other way. And usually it should be a certain distance with like the eye corners. So this eyebrow looks kind of strange, but that's okay too. Yeah. And then let's see. Like it's like outwards, so this is like, it should be far out even further. And it also looks like it's kind of thinning, so this person has loss of hair right now, which I need to fix that because it looks really strange. And I wish my lines were thicker than this right now, because these thin needle lines are not, just means I have to burn more lead to get the same kind of look or effect or whatever. Again, this is not good because I'm doing this without reference. I already don't even know what this should look like, which is not good, because now this is like, this eyebrow that I'm doing right now is because I have no reference. I don't actually know the full like length that it should be. Even though I just said like what it should be, but I don't actually naturally know what it should look like because I haven't drawn it enough. And this is where I mean by like lacking knowledge. Lacking knowledge is right here. So I'm gonna have to actually just draw more to know what the fuck's going on. Okay, so I think that's fine for now. Whatever. Can't just be held up on it forever. Okay, and then maybe I want to work on the eyes a little bit more, since now I have like sort of like a base face. And I just like darken the eyes, the limbuses of the eyes a little bit. So we got the limbus here. And then just like the under eyelid, need to darken that a little bit more to actually show more of a crease on a frontal shot. Okay, and then like, okay, great. Something's missing on the eyes. as the tear ducts. I don't have any tear ducts on this character right now. It looks like they're like a newborn, so it's kind of strange, like underdeveloped. So there should be like a simple line to showcase like some tear ducts. Just a simple one. Shouldn't be very hard, just a light one. Yeah, that looks better. And then let's get rid of, so this is like, if I didn't draw the frames down so hard because I'm explaining here as well as like my own internal thoughts yapping, I would actually not have to erase these frame lines. I would actually just work it into the picture. But this is a video and it's a little bit different today, so usually I'll just erase like the bottom half. I don't actually really care to erase the whole thing. I'll just erase the bottom half of it. And let's just get rid of the center, clean it up. Do 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 do. Okay, and then let's just get rid of like this nose area and stuff here. It's just like dirty and messy. All right, and that's kind of like, got kind of a face here, and then let's see, there's like a circle muscle above your lip here, and then there's like two bottom ones here that look like a peanut. And so you can draw like a little U shape here. These lips are huge. Okay, I guess I'll leave the mouth a little bit open, because otherwise this mouth is massive. Or she's got like thick lips, which is was not trying to go for that, but this is just poor placement is why that occurs sometimes. And if it looks really bad, then I just have to erase the whole thing and just redo the mouth, which I don't want to. Okay, and then just like minor bump there. And all right, and then there's the lips with like a slight open in the mouth, because this was like way too big, but whatever. Okay, and then now we have lips. And just like color in that darkness so that really accentuate that the mouth is slightly ajar by like tiniest distance as a fix to this problem. But whatever. Mouth corner screwed up on the left side. Whoops. Making it worse now. That's okay. Okay, so there's the lips. All right, and then so like now I should probably like give her some hair. So I just like thinking, do I want to do long hairstyle or short or something like? And it's always a basic hairstyle that I'm doing. I should actually engage in like looking at more complicated hairstyles and models and whatever that do like wild hairstyles. So now the thing I mentioned about the distance to the nose earlier, the distance to like your hairline is actually the same distance as well. So this is knowledge, not so much like natural. But even if you don't know that, you can still figure it out naturally, because you can probably draw like a few lines and be like, does this look natural or whatever or not? So I'm just gonna like eye it for a moment here instead of measuring it and be like, if I draw like a line here, and then I draw like a line here, and then it's like that doesn't look too normal or whatever, or like that doesn't look too natural. Like now the head looks really short, so it's probably like a little bit higher on the back here. And then it's like, okay, I don't really know where this like hairline is, but at least there should be like a forehead somewhere here or whatever, right? And then now maybe you'll like, because you see this first line and you see the second line, then maybe you'll be like, oh, okay, so if these are like two bangs here, this still looks like it's too high, so maybe I should like lower it down a little bit. And then that's when you're like, now the face looks really small. So you might have to like guess and hit a little bit, but this is what I mean by reference is really good, because you'll naturally see that when you're drawing from reference and be able to gauge that distance much better. But now that like I'm frustrated about this while talking about it, I'm actually just going to use my knowledge of what I know. So boom, 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 and boom. And then like, because this is like sort of like rounded, this is like rounded to the top, I have to think of it as like, okay, this part here is like flat, so this distance is like straighter. And then as it gets closer to the hairline, it's sort of like shorter. So this is like tapering in, which is like this. What I'm thinking of here in my head on the sideways looks like this arrow going up here, and then it slows here. So then the distance from here to here is quite straight, which is like your forehead, but from here to here, this distance is a lot shorter because it curves inwards in terms of like a 3D space. So boom, 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 and the hairline is like somewhere starting like here. And then let's just go like a double hairstyle. So I'll go short on the right because this ear is more defined, and this left one I'm just gonna block it out with like long hair, I guess. So if that's the case, then let's have like a short bang here or something like that. Like some loose hairs. We'll do loose hairs later, but let's just get like an overall shape working first. And I don't have reference, so this is terrible. Like just even the shape of the hair and like the layering of the hair, like reference helps so much with this. This is like too much to remember. So I'm gonna like drop the hair to about chin length, I guess. Let's go with chin length. So we'll draw like up to chin length or something like that. Back hairs, keep them like equal length, maybe slightly longer than the ones up to the chin. This one's like going behind the ear, I guess. Wasn't even planning that. That goes behind the ear. And then like, it's hair, so it's springing outwards and then it droops down from gravity. So it springs out and then droops down from gravity, springs out, droops down from gravity. And then like, same thing on the back here. So let's see. Usually there's like your crown or hair whorl. If you're curious to know what it is, WHORL, whorl, to search that up if you want to know how hair like, forms out of your head and where your whorls are. Hair whorls. And like I feel like I screwed up like the angle of this like skull here, where like the skull underlying is like somewhere like here. So I'm just like randomly adding like hair fill lines, and now it already looks worse to me because I know this is like sort of like a unnatural curve, so I don't like this at all. So I'm just gonna get rid of this. Usually this wouldn't happen, but it's because I'm just yapping that I couldn't quite remember. And now it looks like she has like a swollen area on her head here. It just looks unnatural. So, God. It's also because I like tired as well. I'm like on 2 hours of sleep while doing this. Whine. Just shut up and draw. And it's like a short bang here. Just uncover that ear a little bit. It shouldn't like just be like fully blocked by nothingness. And then let's see, like probably like a little bit of like some loose hair here, I guess. All right, and then like let's like go like long hair on the other side. So it's pretty like long, so I'm just should be pretty long. So this. I don't really know how long I want this to go. I just want it long. Alright, this is too messy. That's not real. That's not normal looking. Nobody's hair goes like that. Even if they tried to style it that way. That's like hairstyle impossible. That's not real. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to always be real, so that's another thing to remind yourself. Just get creative. I don't even care that AI can do this shit like way faster someday. I have the power of the pencil. Okay, so it looks like I have a base image of what oh, this is awkwardly right in the middle. That's also not normal. Your hair doesn't really split directly down the center of like your head. That's just like there's no way it's that perfect. That in itself is a problem. The perfection is a problem here. This looks so weirdly like perfect, which is not normal. This need imperfections around this like hairline here. I want it to curve to the right or something like that. Probably make it like slightly more believable, or it probably just looks like ass. I don't even know anymore. And it looks like I drew it somehow. For some reason, the wind is partially blowing to the left. I don't know why there's wind blowing to the left, so let's just add like a few strands of like hair here. Okay, and then okay, so now the eyes really need some like help because I don't know what's happening. Oh wait, and also this image is like really skewed. Okay, so this is actually what it looks like so far. So I'm so sorry I don't have a better camera angle, so that's where we're at right now. Okay, and then now that I have like a baseline of like the hair or whatever, this is like not even what this is what I would be like base framework for hair for me anyways. This would be different per person or whatever. So I need to make the eyes look better right now because they're just soulless. So it's a black dot in the middle. Let's lighten the pupil up. So we've got a pupil there. We've got a pupil here. I'm gonna blow my nose. Oh my god, am I getting sick? Okay, so lightened up the pupils with some dark circles, and then let's do like an iris. How do I want to do the iris? I want to do the iris in a shading style that I've been just doing a lot lately. Is just cross hatching it. Okay, so first let's just outline a shape of the iris and maybe where a highlight is, a random highlight. So there's a pupil, and then like let's go for a top right highlight. So let's just draw a tiny empty circle here. And I'll do that on the other eye as well. Alright, because I don't know my light reflection, so this is just some El Cheapo light reflection. Alright, and then let's see, let's just like do some darkness from the top, because there's that shadow coming in from the eyelids. Some darkness from the top. Let's make it like ultra dark, pushing hard. Okay, and then I'm just gonna cross hatch like some details in, I guess. Cross hatch some details in. I have to be really careful not to smudge this with my hand either, because it can just blur it all out later on. Okay, and then I need it like really dark near the eye, so this is actually like precision work now.
So this is where like detail focus comes in. And this is like my favorite part because it's the one time my brain doesn't think about 9,000 different things and grow like attention span loss nonstop. Because it's the one thing that makes me forget everything. It's doing tiny detail work after I've set up the frame for my own coloring book. I am definitely getting sick. Oh my goodness. Okay, and then let's just shadow out the edges. Shadow out the edges of the limbus.
Alright, cool. Now it looks like they're kind of alive in there. No makeup. All right, and then I'm just gonna darken the hairstyle now because I should. Okay, so let's just like pull out some hair here. Hair is already pretty messy. I don't really want to think too much about it, especially a girl's hair. It's like always like long and frothy and lively, springly. Let's just bring it all the way up to there. Just darken out the edges. Pull out like, you know, where it should be. Okay, and then this bang coming out here should be pretty dark. Same with this one here. It's like a longer bang, extended. Okay, and that's where we are with like the dark outlines. And maybe I want to erase like the underframe, and so just do that. All right, so that is kind of decent, I guess. All right, and then maybe I'll shade this like later on or something. I don't know. And then I guess I should add some eyelashes. It's pretty much about the same as the eyebrows, so let's just add a little bit of eyelashes just on the side because everybody has them. Don't want to add too much, otherwise it'll start looking like makeup. They're short. I want to try and keep them looking natural. Or maybe that's not natural anymore. I don't know anymore. Who knows? I don't think I know what natural looks like. I should probably just go look in the mirror, honestly. Okay, this nose looks really strange to me now after the additional details of the eye. Let's just like fix up the eye corner a little bit. I want the shape of her eye to be a bit more announced. Very cool. Alright, and then, yeah, just like, just a small little... Your cheek here is actually quite big. It's like it's swollen on this side. I actually like screwed up this side of the face, but that's okay. Whatever. All right, so that's it. Holy damn, it's been an hour. Jesus. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I guess this is what's in my mind's eye. This is what I know so far, I guess. All right, there it is. 156. All right, now that's one drawing of the day. I guess I will color in the lips for some reason. I don't know why I want to just finish off the lips. Actually looks, you know what, maybe I'll sculpt this hairstyle in 3D now that I'm looking at it. Looks kind of balanced to me, except I have no idea what the backside looks like because I only have the front here. But that's sort of how it goes for me anyways. Oh, and it looks unnatural because it looks so perfect on the outside. Okay, so let's just add like, this is where I should add some rough hair strands. And these lines are actually like so full of the framework that it's actually really unclear what's what right now for me. There's like a general visual of what it looks like, which is fine, but it's still like a bit lost because I did this again with no reference. And I guess this is like the height of where my knowledge is currently. So this is like my self-test. And yeah, and I guess this time you're a part of it too. So usually I don't even like to share this because I don't know, I just don't like to share this, but I'm doing it today. Okay, so let's see, if I'm trying to think about it, there should be like random hairs that fly around out. So if she has such long hair, that's like, should be like random hairs flying out. All right, how's that? There it is. Bam.
All right, well, if you made it all the way up to here, thanks so much for watching. I guess leave a comment and tell me what you think. Otherwise, I'll just make like sped up versions of it instead in like 3 minutes or less and fire it off to shorts. But if you want to hear me yap, or actually just not even hear me yap and just have me just drawing random all the way from beginning to end, you can do that too. But and I usually don't. I usually do mean by that. I don't like showcasing like everything, but yeah. But yeah, this has been. I'm actually quite happy with this. So yeah, I was not expecting it to turn out so well, and that was a pleasant surprise considering I thought it was gonna be like this, but it ended up like this.
Got me feeling tired.
Peace.
It's aching in my chest. It's like a live wire.